Ladies and gentlemen, there is no better way than to kick off tonight's sports report show here on Sportswire Radio. Now, the number one global radio station here on sportnarium.com/player with somebody that is no stranger to us. She's now a champion and she's fighting for yet another title here, literally just hours from now. And she has definitely packed punches here like a hurricane. And we've been hit with actually a few hurricanes here in the United States over the past week or two. And she definitely fights like a hurricane, and she's coming off a huge victory not too long ago, and she's stepping up here in the ring, and really excited to have her here. She's been one of the most important guests that we've had in this show's history, and she's fighting for the WBL Super Flyweight Championship. And without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, undefeated pro boxer, Nicola Hurricane Hopewell. Champ, how are you?
Really good, thank you. How are you?
Always good when I get a chance to talk with you, and congratulations on the most recent victory. And it was literally, it feels like just days ago when you were in the ring and you had yet another dominant victory against Yvette Garcia. And we'll get into that. And also, obviously, this huge fight coming up here for the WBL Super Flyweight Championship. And you've got a title now, actually, since the last time we spoke, because you're the PBC Super Flyweight Champion. But for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportswire Radio, talk to me about the keys to the last fight here. Yet another resounding victory over Yvette Garcia.
Yeah, it went too long ago. It's only 2 weeks ago.
I was going to say.
So, yeah, pretty quick turnaround from that fight to this fight. So it's just been one constant fight camp, really. Just we're fighting in the middle of it. But yeah, we're good to get a fight because I've not fought since April. So we're good to do the fight with a vet and get some rounds in as well. Ready for this fight in September because this one's going to be an 8-round fight. And as you probably know, my first 3 fights ended in the first 2 rounds. So yeah, the fight with the vet, I did nearly the full 6, stopped her in the 6th round, but we're good to get some rounds under my belt.
Absolutely, and congratulations on the victory. And I want to talk about the fight here for a few minutes before we prepare for tomorrow's huge fight here, a part of the huge card that we've put on here at Sportnarium, the Battles at the Beach here, which we'll see the band City Lights perform, and also obviously the Blonde Bomber, Holly Tao, and Triple L Colson. It's a really great card, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. And I want to give a huge shout out, obviously, to Lakey and Steve and Sean, everybody at the Sportnarium team, and of course your trainer Chris Will, who we've had on the show here. But I think in a lot of ways the fight with Yvette was a coming of age, because I know that the fight nearly went the distance, but there was something I saw different in you compared to those first couple of fights, especially against Tasha I Hate Boys, because I think that you came out and you pretty much followed the game plan with what Chris gave you. And from the very get-go, you came out, and that was a tough fighter. Yvette Garcia was no pushover. Yeah. She hung in there, and I really think that there was a strategy that you implemented here, and you pretty much went by it for most of that fight. And talk to me how important it was to come out the way you did the first, I want to say, 30 seconds of that fight against Yvette Garcia.
Yeah, I come out pretty quick, I feel. I didn't want to let her settle, and I wanted to make it my fight because I knew that she was a good opponent. She was an unbeaten amateur, won their national championship, so I knew that it was a better opponent for me. I knew that it was probably going to go the distance, but I didn't want to let her settle and let her make it her fight. So yeah, I'll come out pretty quick and pretty fast in the first part of the fight, and then I settled down a little bit and made it my fight. That was the main thing that I wanted to do. It was my fight, and I was going to do my fight, not let her settle and take over.
Call me crazy on this, Nicola, but I actually think that in a lot of ways, nearly going the distance helped you, because I know that when we spoke with you last, you had just come off the fight with Tasha I Hate Boys, and that fight ended very quickly. But I think at this point here in your career, obviously we know that you're going to go on to bigger and better things. You're going to win the title tomorrow and then probably win a lot more titles, especially coming up at the end of the year. But I actually think getting in the ring, going the distance, going against a fighter who's got a lot of experience, no pushover. She's got a tough chin that was clearly shown throughout this fight. I actually think that this helps you here, especially when we talked before in the past when you had ring rust. I mean, talk to me about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree. It was important for me to do the 6 rounds, I feel, because like doing 6 rounds sparring is different than 6 rounds in a fight. I knew I could do 6 rounds sparring. I can do 10 rounds sparring, but I think when it's an actual fight, you're against a totally different opponent because like I spar Holly quite a lot. So we're used to each other. So doing 10 rounds, 10 rounds with Holly, I'm okay with. So yeah, it was pretty important for me to get this 6 rounds, the full fight in. Also, not just for me, for me, so I knew I could do it and it boosted my confidence that I can do 6 rounds because I've never done it. But also for people watching, people have only seen me box like maximum of 2 rounds. They've not actually seen what I can do. They've not seen me go the distance. So we were also a chance for people watching to see what I can do and for me to mix it up a little bit, and they see my footwork. They can see I can go head and body. They can see that I go in and out, come off at some angles, where when you're only boxing 1 round or 2 rounds, they don't see what you can do. And I had a lot of positive feedback from that fight, and there were a lot of people mainly on social media saying like how good the fight was, and it was good to actually see me do 6 rounds. They got to see a lot more of me.
Oh, absolutely. And we know that we're going to see a lot more of you here in the ring, especially coming up tomorrow night as a part of Sportinarium's historic card here. Battles at the Beach here. All women's fight card. You're also going to see, obviously, the band City Lights perform, and Nicola is going to be a huge part of that. You can get more information on the card and buying a ticket, obviously, to see Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell fight amongst many others at sportinarium.com. And also you can go to Nicola's pages on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's at Boxer Hopewell, and you can see all the great things that she is doing in the ring. This is the 3rd time that we've had her here on the show, and the last time we had her on, she was coming off a huge victory, so we know it's going to happen again. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Brice. And Nicola, I also think in a lot of ways that going the distance helps also especially prepare that you got more fights upcoming. We'll get into that here in a few minutes, but in professional wrestling, we talk with a lot of the wrestlers there, and sometimes it's good for them to go the distance or where they haven't been in the ring in a while, and there's a term that they use called ring rust. And I think in a lot of ways here with your fight against Yvette Garcia, going 6 rounds helps a little bit with that, because I know that you train, you kind of alluded to it with Holly and Chris, obviously, and Ellie, but I think in a lot of ways, going the 6 rounds is going to help you a little bit, because we know that there are fights upcoming, or you're going to fight 3 times here within a matter of months, whereas you only had the 3 fights before over a year. Now you're going to be fighting, if you do the math, you're going to be fighting 4 times within 5 months. I mean, talk to me about your thoughts on actually ring rust and if that's something that does impact you.
Yeah, I think you can. Obviously, if you're not an active boxer and you've not been out for so long. So probably my April fight, I'd not fought since September. So I fought last September and I didn't fight till April this year. So I think I had a bit of ring rust then because you've been out for so long. So yeah, then I only did 2 rounds. So I was just warming up really. So to have the full fight with a vet, it's been good for me ready for September, because I've got like the ring rust isn't there because I only boxed 3 weeks. Well, but when Saturday comes, it's only 3 weeks since I boxed, and also in front of a crowd as well. So it was the first time that I boxed in front of a crowd since my debut when I boxed Yvette. So again, that was different because you get a different vibe from the crowd, and you get the adrenaline that they're all cheering for you and shouting for you, which is different when like you box behind closed doors. So again, that was different. So with the fight with Yvette, it was good for me to box in front of a crowd before the big fight and the title fight, like to get used to it again. And yeah, obviously the ring rust, so like being used to being in the ring in a competitive fight rather than just the sparring.
And it's funny you said that about the crowd, and that was actually going to be my next question, Nicola. You definitely know me well by now, but how did it feel boxing in front of a crowd like that? That was a nice little crowd there. That was a crowd that was into the fight. I mean, obviously there was good reasons, because you do pack a punch like a hurricane, and for most of that fight you pretty much were in control. But did you kind of feed off the crowd a little bit? Because I know that when we've talked in the past during COVID, you're fighting and there's nobody there and it's closed doors and it's just such a tough environment. And again, going back to wrestling, and we've talked with a number of these different wrestlers here on the show, and it was kind of the same thing. And in fact, that a lot of these guys and gals were in the ring and there was nobody there. And I would ask them, well, how do you keep yourself mentally focused? And how do you keep yourself where you're so used to feeding off that crowd? I know boxing, it's a little different, but it's still similar in some ways because you're so used to having that crowd cheer you. You're so used to coming out to your own music, and you're so used to being able to, in some ways, kind of figure out if there is a crowd. But how did that make you feel and finally having that crowd, and did it help you maybe throughout the fight?
Oh yeah, definitely. I loved having the crowd there, and even from like walking out to my own song that I always walk out to, even from just the point of walking out and just seeing everybody there supporting you and shouting you, and then when you're in the ring as well, when you hear people like shouting your name and cheering you, like you get that bit of adrenaline, and it gets you through the fight. And when you're behind closed doors, you can hear everything. You can hear the commentator, which I think I've said before when the first time they said, "Oh, I'd started off slow or something," but then I went and stopped the girl at the end of that round because I'd heard what they said. But you don't get that when the crowd's there, because all you can hear is them shouting your name and just shouting stuff and cheering for you. And it's definitely a lot better.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, it's definitely got to feel good to fight in front of a crowd. And tomorrow is going to be a great crowd. That's what we're extremely excited about, your fight and the rest of the card here. And also talk to me about Chris Will. I know that we talk about Chris all the time when we have you on. We've obviously had Holly on, and Ellie's been a part of the show here in the past. But Chris, I got to feel that you're relying on him still quite a bit because of everything that's going on, and the fact that you're fighting now a little bit more than when we've spoke with you in the past. I mean, what's the conversations been like with Chris during training here, especially as we get ready for tomorrow's huge fight?
We just all trained together, and like Chris has put in like a fight plan for us. Like he's looked at all our opponents, and like I've been through mine this week with him. Obviously we had one and then my opponent changed, so he's now watched my new opponent come up with another one, so I know what I'm doing, so I'm prepared for the fight. But yeah, he's got us through it, and yeah, I can't thank you enough.
And speaking of that, and we're going to get into that here, obviously you're going to be fighting tomorrow for the WBL Super Flyweight Championship, and we know that you're going to come out like a hurricane that you always do, but this is the second time we've spoken to you now that you're going to be fighting a different opponent last minute. I mean, how do you prepare for something like that? I mean, talk to me about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, you mentally prepare yourself for who you're matched with. And then when I got matched with my original opponent, she'd had quite a lot of fights, and there were a lot of videos and fights on YouTube. So I'd sat and watched quite a few of them, picked up what she does, like regular, picked out her mistakes and the ones that she keeps making, and what can I do to catch her when she does that. So you mentally prepare yourself for that. But then when you hear the fights dropped, and then like I did at the week, and you don't then have an opponent for a few days, but then you've sold tickets, like there's like a big expectation of you that you're going to fight. It plays on your mind a little bit. That are you going to get someone so close to the fight? Is there somebody your weight? Can they get in because it's COVID? Because that was the reason that my fight has changed, because of the COVID restrictions. But yeah, I just mentally, like, you prepare for it and then it changes. But like I said it earlier, I'm gonna make it my fight anyway. So like, you can mentally prepare for somebody and you can prepare for them as much as you want. But I'm gonna go in there Saturday. I'm gonna make it my fight and like box how I want to box that fight from the start.
Well, we know that you are definitely going to do that, and these are reasons why everybody needs to go to sportinarium.com and purchase a ticket. There are limited tickets available. Well, we've got Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell with us, who is going to pack a punch like a hurricane. So she is definitely going to be a reason why you are going to want to purchase a ticket here at the Battles at the Beach. And as always, a huge shout out to Trevor Lakey and obviously Steve Trendle and everybody with the Sportinarium family. Gail Kilmartin of the Fox Mitu, and Chris Spoyle's obviously been a part of the team, who does a phenomenal job training Nicola. So we're really excited about this fight. And of course, foremost, you can follow Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell on Twitter and Instagram at Boxer Hopewell. You can check her out on Facebook and check out all the great things that she is doing. And a rising tide lifts all boats, and we know that she is going to definitely be the rising tide that lifts us here for tomorrow night's huge card. Also, again, the blonde bomber Holly Tal will be on the card, and Triple L Colson, and obviously City Lights is going to be performing. This is really going to be a great event. I wish, Nicola, that I could come to Brighton and see it. I wish that I was living out there so we could see it, get a ticket and see you fight and the rest of the great card and meet everybody. But in the meantime, everybody can go to sportnarium.com and purchase tickets for the fight. And obviously, we're talking here with Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell. Nicola, now you're going to be fighting here also a number of different times now over the next few months. I mean, does that excite you a bit? I mean, does it make you feel like now you're alive? I remember we talked in the past and it was like, well, when are you going to fight? We don't know. And COVID, and almost like just you were looking forward to training. You were in quarantine, but now you got a lot of action upcoming here. I mean, it's got to excite you. It's got to motivate you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, I'd rather be busy than only have like 2 fights a year. I'd rather be out like every month if I could. It really excites me. Can't wait.
What would it mean to you here tomorrow night to win the WBL Super Flyweight Championship?
Oh, yeah, it mean everything. Like another title, and then be able to defend it later on in the year, hopefully. So on another fight. But yeah, and like my mum and dad are coming down as well. So to win it in front of them, yeah, it'd be awesome. Can't wait.
What's the feeling and the vibe been like in your hometown in Worksop? I know how much you've meant, obviously, being the first female fighter to come out of there, and you're obviously one of really only a few fighters to really box at a Worksop. I mean, what's the vibe been back home now that they see that you're fighting for this title, you're on your way to bigger and better things? I mean, since we've spoken to you, your social media has exploded. I feel like more and more people know you. I mean, what's the feeling been like in your hometown?
Yeah, it's been good. We've got a bus going down from Worksop to Brighton on Saturday night, so we've got quite a lot from the gym. We've got quite a lot of support there, and I've had the Worksop paper. They rang me up. They'd seen it on social media, so they rang me up earlier in the week. Did a quick interview with those because they wanted to put it on their website. The local counsellor Josie, I spoke to her this week, just wishing me luck. Obviously, some of my sponsors are local, so like KC Sofas I've actually been down there to see them today. So they're like a Worksop based firm. So yeah, it's good.
Does that in a way maybe give you added pressure in a way? Because now it's like, okay, everybody now is paying attention. Whereas, before when we spoke with you in the past, it was almost like you were still building. You were an emerging figure. And now it almost feels like a lot more people know you. And again, especially in your hometown. I mean, does that add pressure to you at all in any way?
Yeah, it does a little bit, yeah. Because there's a lot more people know me now just through social media and like in Worksop, probably the paper and just word of mouth through my family and friends and stuff. So there's a lot more added pressure. And for this fight as well, just through like word of mouth and social media, I've actually got a kit made for me by EV2 Sportswire. So they've made me my full fight kit. So ring jacket, shorts, fight night t-shirts, and then also t-shirts for Chris and the corner team with my sponsors on. So obviously they've seen my social media, they've spoken to me, and they feel like I'm like it's worth investing in me and doing my fight kit. So this is the first time I've wore the kit by them. So yeah, I feel like that's a little bit of an added pressure as well.
Well, listen, I can certainly see why anybody would invest in you, and most importantly, buy a ticket to tomorrow night's fight. But also, Nicola, you got to also plug all of your sponsors because I know how important they are. Obviously, I've gotten to know the team off the air, and obviously knowing Lakey and knowing Steve and obviously Chris as well as I have, and for as long as I have, I know that without sponsors, without those who support you, you wouldn't have the opportunities to be able to train as you do. So please, for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportswire Radio, plug all of those who do a great job in promoting you.
Yeah, so mentioned them earlier. So I've got KC Sofas. So they've been my sponsors since I first turned professional. They're Worksop based, got website. They're on my social media as well. Check them out. I've got Richards Boxing. So they're based in Australia. Phil is so supportive, really supportive. He's done competitions and to win actually tickets for the fight, which we've done, and got a young girl coming down from Sheffield who's won those tickets. Some t-shirt giveaways. So yeah, Phil's a great support. I've got JTM Building, which is a Leeds-based building company. Again, they've sponsored me now for the last few fights. And then I've got a new one on board for this fight and for my next few fights, which is Goodwin Racing. So I met Goodwin Racing at fight camp and I just got talking to them. And then it just went from there, really. So they're massive support as well. I've got Jack Bull Nutrition, who supply me with all my supplements through my camp. And then I've got Notorious Fight Gear, who have been providing me with my equipment for my last 2 camps as well.
Wow, Nicola, I remember when we first spoke many months ago, and I think you only had 3 sponsors at the time. Now I think we have 7 or 8 at this point. I mean, and I'm sure after tomorrow night's huge victory, you're going to probably have at least 2 or 3 more sponsors after that. So you were definitely an emerging fighter.
Hopefully.
I think so. Listen, I definitely think so. I've gotten to watch you fight now all throughout your career so far, and I have a very good feeling you were going to do those things. And also, I got to remark, and I'm sure you're getting this quite a bit, but you come out in the last fight against Yvette Garcia to Katy Perry Roar, and I would almost think naturally you'd almost want to come out to Scorpions Rock You Like a Hurricane. I mean, does it ever come up at all? I mean, have you ever thought about that? I mean, I was almost kind of thinking, well, you are the Hurricane. I mean, there is a song obviously called Rock You Like a Hurricane from the Scorpions. I mean, has it ever come up to you at all?
No, it hasn't actually. I've had another one sent to me. I can't remember who. That's called Hurricane as well, but I can't remember who sings it. But I've had Raw since my very first amateur fight, so it's just stuck with me. With the tiger stripes and stuff on my kit, it's just a theme that I've always had. But maybe I ought to change it up a little bit.
Well, listen. If it's working, don't change it. Listen, what's the old adage? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, champ. So
exactly. Unless I can get someone to do me a remix, Raw and the Hurricane song. I don't know. Could we do a remix?
Well, I would have to think because we do have City Lights performing. I mean, maybe City Lights could work on that because we know that they are the band that is playing tomorrow. So obviously, I mean, maybe they could work on that. But listen, what's the main chorus of Katy Perry's Roar? I've got the Eye of the Tiger, and I know that Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell is definitely got that Eye of the Tiger because she definitely packs a punch. You are definitely going to hear her roar tomorrow night. And also, I got to bring up Holly and Ellie real quick because I know we've had them here in the past. I know how much that they've meant to the Academy and Chris. And what's that been like training with them here, especially with the short notice? I mean, what are you telling them here about their fights and everything between the three as you get prepared for another huge fight coming up here tomorrow night?
Yeah, so we've all got good fights tomorrow night. Holly, Ellie, and myself. We just train together. We always have done from the amateurs. So years now, we've all 3 just trained and helped each other. We spar each other all the time. So yeah, we just help each other along with the training, just helping each other along day to day, really. And always there for each other, supporting each other, which is the main thing.
Absolutely. And I was watching Holly's fight, which came on before you. And Holly, I think, is going to definitely be in her own right holding quite a few titles. And Ellie's right behind you guys as well. And I also noticed, Nicola, that Holly was out there outside the ring cheering you on. I was almost getting ready for Holly to help you out and with the towel and the water. And we saw Chris there. And Holly was right behind Chris. I mean, that had to give you a little bit of an added kick seeing Holly out there before you for the match.
Yeah, definitely. And also, me, Holly, and Ellie, we've also done our cornering course. So we've done our hand wrapping course, cornering course. So we go in each other's corner as well. Obviously, if we're not on straight after each other, but where we can, we are in each other's corner, and we've always got at least one of them in our corner, if not both. It's usually both, unless the card falls where one of us is on straight after the other one. Then we jiggle it around a little bit. But yeah, having them in our corner as well, because we train together every day, we know each other inside out. And it's one of them things where if Chris is looking at one thing, we can look at another thing and point it out if something doesn't look right, because we might notice something that Chris doesn't. And also just being there in the corner as well, when we're passing this stuff up to Chris, it's just that bit of extra support as well from someone that you train with and quite close with.
Oh, absolutely. And huge shout outs to everybody, including Holly and Ellie, and obviously the trainer, Chris Boyle, and obviously one of the premier trainers around. I know how much he puts into you guys and how much you mean to him. So I would definitely want to give him a huge shout out. And I got to ask you, Nicola, I mean, what did you think of Lakey's introduction and closing of you coming out there? I mean, what did you think of how, let's say, Mr. Trevor Lakey introduces you versus, let's say, how I introduce you? I mean, I almost got to laugh and ask you that because I'm sure Lakey's going to be listening to this.
I think he always does a great job, to be honest. Like, he did it in Aberdeen, didn't he? And did it in in Kent as well. So yeah, is he doing it Saturday? I think he is.
He's gonna be doing it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He's definitely gonna be doing it because he's gonna he's gonna definitely be doing it. And I want to give him a huge shout out. And obviously, cannot thank him enough for putting together this card. And I know that there was somebody else that I wanted to mention. It's not who you think it's gonna be, because I know you get asked all the time about always that same person, but it's actually somebody else that I know that has been very important to the fight game and also to the card. That's Enzo Macronelli, and he's somebody that has done things which you are going to do. And talk about what's that been like in getting advice from him.
Yes, I went down to Swansea. Well, I was going down for a few days, like I'd say a holiday, but because I have a fight coming up, it wasn't a full holiday where I was resting. I was going to the gym and stuff. And yeah, I ended up going to Enzo's gym, using the bags and stuff. He put me on pads as well, gave me a bit of just doing basics really, a bit of advice. But yeah, I found it really useful, and it's really, really good bloke. And yeah, I think like obviously getting advice from different people, it helps as well. And like it was really nice for him to like let me use the gym while I was down there and put me on the pads, because obviously I'd gone down there just for a few days break, but I also knew I needed to carry on training. So yeah, when he let me use the gym and he did a bit of work with me while I was down there, I'm very grateful for that, because he didn't have to. But yeah, I just thought it was really useful, and I'm grateful of his help.
I know that you've had now some experience. I know that you get to speak with a number of different fighters that you've gotten close with, but I got to ask you before I get closing thoughts and one or two things here else about the fight. But Enzo's different because Enzo has had success that very few fighters attain, and he's also meant a lot in terms of the sport of boxing as a promoter as well. And his experience is far and few between. I mean, what do you take away from Enzo, and how much do you talk to him about those experiences where, let's say, maybe he held the world title? I mean, talk to me about that.
At the weekend was probably only the first time that I'd really spoken to him, really. And he spoke to me about some of his fights, which I thought it was really good. Like he actually showed me a video of one of them, and he was, because at this point I was still boxing Christina, and we'd looked at one of her fights, and then I said, how much experience that she had, and the experience that I had like versus what she had. And then he got one of his amateur fights up, and he was showing it me, and he said that the lad he was boxing was like 24 years old. He'd had so many fights, won so many national championships, and Enzo had got in there, and I don't know if he said like 18 or something like that, and he ended up stopping him, this guy, and like I think his coach thought he were going to go in there and they were just going to take in the rounds, but then Enzo ended up stopping him. So basically he just showed me that fight after I had said about, she's got way more experience than me and stuff, and then he just got this fight out and showed me his fight, and then we just like went through, like, it don't matter how much experience she's got, it's what you're going to do in that ring.
Absolutely. And we know that you are going to do a lot of great things. You are going to pack quite a punch. These are reasons why everybody needs to follow Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell on Twitter and Instagram at Boxer Hopewell. You can also find out more information for this great fight at sportnarium.com. You can also follow Sportnarium on Instagram at Sportnarium Events, Twitter at Sportnarium, and find out why this is going to be the event of the summer. Battles at the beach. It's going to be a battle royale, to say the least. We've got City Lights also performing. We've got so many other great things planned, and also huge shout out to Trevor Lake again, and obviously Steve Trendle and Arthur Fox Mitu and everybody at the Sportnarium team for making this happen, as we have a few more minutes with Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell, the PBC Super Flyweight champion. But we know that title is going to be in the rearview mirror very soon, because tomorrow night we are very confident she's going to hold that WBL Super Flyweight championship. Very excited about this. We've got many title fights here scheduled. You got to go to sportnarium.com. There are still a few more tickets still available. Limited tickets are still out there, so make sure you go over right after this interview and go to sportnarium.com and also support all of Nicola's great sponsors, because without those sponsors, Nicola wouldn't have the opportunities that she has. And Nicola, before I get your closing thoughts here, and I know it's hard to ask about one or two keys here to tomorrow night's fight, and after watching the fight against Yvette, I would just continue to do what you did, because it was pretty much from the start. I don't even think Yvette Garcia got maybe a solid combo win throughout that entire 6 rounds. So I think it's just pretty much keep what you're doing there, especially the first 30 seconds of that fight, where it looked like like she was going to go down. And I think that's kind of the strategy. But I would still ask it anyway for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportswire Radio. Give me 1 or 2 keys for tomorrow night's fight.
So the fight tomorrow night is going to be exciting. It's going to be like all my other fights. It's going to be exciting. The crowd's going to be behind me. I'm going to go out there and make it my fight. I'm going to box my style, my fight, use my footwork as always, put those combos together, get in, get out. Yeah, so it's going to be really exciting and I can't wait.
Absolutely, and we cannot wait to watch it as well. And also, huge shout out to Sean for doing all the editing for the card here and also all the footage. We've seen all those great promo videos and really excited to see what the guys come up here for tomorrow night's fight. And I got to think here, last thing I'll ask you, especially when it comes to footwork, and I know that we've talked about footwork in the past, and I know that is something that Chris focuses on quite a bit with the academy, but after watching the last fight, seeing how well you did off your feet, and how well you were able to bounce back off any time that Yvette Garcia tried to tie you up. And that was pretty much, I think, Yvette's strategy throughout the entire fight, champ, was pretty much just to hang on to you for dear life and hope she doesn't get that punch that was going to definitely pack like a hurricane. But I got to think here, especially against an opponent that we don't know much of, that footwork is going to be key here, especially to the offense that you're going to bring tomorrow night.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Short, simple, sweet, and to the point. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you got to follow Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell on social media. You got to go out and see it tomorrow night. It is a great event. I cannot stress it enough. And champ, I know that you're definitely very busy. You're getting ready to get some extra sleep and getting ready to obviously go down to Brighton for tomorrow's fight. And obviously, huge shout out to everybody else fighting on here. And one more time, huge shout out to the entire team at Sportnarian. But I do want to give you the floor. I do want to give you any closing thoughts. Plug all of your social media in case there's anything that we missed and anything else that you want to say, especially to your many fans listening to this, especially to our worldwide audience listening here on Sportswire Radio. And I cannot thank you enough for all that you've done for us. I cannot thank you enough for all that you've done for the sport of boxing. And congratulations on all the success so far, and congratulations to all of your future success. So I turn it over to you. Please plug all of your social media, anything you want to say, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on again. So yeah, just thank all my sponsors again because I can't do this without them. So KC Sofas, Richards Boxing, Goodwin Racing, JTM Building. I've got my nutrition badge at Bull. I've got my equipment from Notorious Fight Gear. I also want to give a big shout out to EV2 for doing my kit because that's the first time I've had a full matching kit, like brand new. And I've also got gloves to match it from Rival as well. So I really can't wait to wear all that. And then I just want to thank Chris, the girls at the gym, so Ellie and Holly, we always train together for the sparring. I want to thank all my friends and my family for all their support, and whoever's coming down at the weekend, just thank you for buying a ticket and supporting me. And then I think that's about it. And then if you want to follow my journey, so my social media is at Boxer Hopewell on Instagram and Twitter. And I've got a Facebook page, Nicole Hurricane Hopewell. I think that's about it now.
I think that's about it for now.
All my bios.
I'm sure that we'll see. I'm sure on TikTok at some point, and I'm sure we'll see a YouTube page dedicated to you.
I've got TikTok as well.
All right, there you go. That's my point. Everybody's on TikTok. In fact,
I have got TikTok.
You know, I even have people ask me, they say, Tom, well, why don't you put your stuff on TikTok? But I'm like, well, I got LinkedIn, I got Facebook, I got Instagram, I got Twitter. I'm now running the Sportnarian radio page, which we've changed to Sportswire Radio. We've been having radio problems all throughout the week. So I don't even have any more time at this point. So maybe TikTok is in the cards in the future. We'll certainly see. But champ, it is always a tremendous honor. Congratulations on all the success. Go get him out there tomorrow night. I can't wait to talk with you after you win another title. Keep up the great work, and shout out as always to the entire team here at Sportnarium. And I can't thank you enough, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you after another victory tomorrow night.
Thank you for having me on.
As we're here on the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show with undefeated pro boxer and PBC Super Flyweight champion of the world, Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell. as I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Don Brice. And stay tuned for more hard-hitting analysis here on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station, as we were just with undefeated pro boxer and PBC Super Flyweight champion Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell, as she's getting ready tomorrow night to be a part of the historic Battles at the Beach card here that's put on together by our very good friends over at Sportnarium, Trevor and Steve and the entire gang, and she'll be fighting for the WBL Super Flyweight Championship. So you definitely want to go to sportnarium.com to get more information on this card, and definitely tune in tomorrow night and stay tuned here for more hard-hitting analysis here on Sportswire Radio, as we were just with undefeated pro boxer Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell fighting for the WBL Super Flyweight Championship, a part of the historic Battle at the Beach card here in Brighton. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Brice.